So, a first in, like, ever.
It's been a big week for me.
It's been a big week for her. So, yeah, so pretty much all her childhood was spent being afraid of this thing.
Terrified.
As you do when you're a small child. And, well, in preparation of wanting to see the new It movie, I wanted to rewatch the miniseries, because who doesn't love torturing themselves? I actually do enjoy it, though I do recognize it's garbage. But it's hot garbage and I love it. Anyway, she decided to sit through it with me.
I was not intending to actually pay attention. I was intending to have my laptop up in front of my face and just listen to it. Because for years, it has scared me, and it has scared the shit out of me. Like, I would cry in Walmart when I saw the cover with the big fingers.
I used to flip it around anytime I'd see it because I didn't want it to freak her out.
Guess what? I sat through it, and it's not fucking scary.
No, see, that it's not. So that was a big moment. And then,
I had a big, like, revelation. I was, like, not scared anymore, and it was great.
And that's how I always got through it. When I finally sat through it when I was, like, I don't know.
In your teens?
12? 13?
Younger than that.
12 or 13. Was because Tim Curry.
Tim Curry's amazing.
Tim Curry doesn't scare me.
He's hilarious. Like, there's a literal shot that's supposed to be, I think it's supposed to be scary. Like, one of the characters, fuck if I know, the adults suck. I love John Ritter and Annette O'Toole, but
they're the only ones who can act.
Everybody sucks. Anyway, one of them is, like, at a cemetery. It's probably Billy visiting his brother's grave.
No,
Who is it? I don't know.
Is it Ben?
Anyway, one of them's there, and, like, Pennywise has, like, dug all the graves for everybody, like, so, you know, when he kills them. And he's just sitting there, like, well? And it's like, it's supposed to be scary, but it's not. It's so funny.
It's just Tim Curry.
And every time I think of it, I'm just like, it's not scary. Anyway, so...
And today we were supposed to go with 2 other friends, but they had to not for, you know, reasons. No hard feelings at all.
At all. And I was supposed to not go because I listened to the trailer for in the first trailer, where Georgie's screaming, "We all float," over and over. Or you'll float too. That's what
you'll float too.
Anyway, and I was going to stay home and watch cartoons or something while they went to the movies. But plans changed, and she had been looking forward to it for like 2 weeks.
Like, from the moment they announced this, I was like, here. I was ready. I started the book. I didn't finish it.
It's long in your defense.
It's really long.
Anyway, and she was still dying to go, and she plied me with food. She said she'd buy me food.
I bought her dinner.
She brought me a burger. So, anyway.
So we went and saw it.
So I went, and I was in the theater, and I saw it.
We took anti-anxiety drugs beforehand. Drugs.
They're natural. They're not drugs.
Still. But honestly, I think the biggest thing that got to me was just the anticipation, the driving
like,
there, sitting in the theater.
Like, we sat down, and the lights went down, and I just, like, grabbed her, like, okay, now I'm getting scared. Because it was dark.
Okay, so...
Okay, the movie.
The movie,
Do we want to say our ratings first, just to, like, preface, like, how much we're going to talk about this?
I rate on a scale of 1 to 10. And I rate it a solid 9 out of 10.
And I do a star system out of 5 stars, and I did 4.5 out of 5.
So
this is something I never thought I'd say. I loved it.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it.
When the trailers hit, I was really worried, because, of course... Growing up, I was like Tim Curry, you know, Pennywise.
Also, it's a reboot, and it's a whole reboot, and it's Stephen King.
And it's,
so his adaptations are not.
I don't have any hate for Stephen King at all, but all of his movies suck ass. And so, yeah, really,
it's
good.
So good. Like, you can tell...
There was so much care,
oh my God, there was so much care,
love.
and so much love, and heart.
Yeah, there's so much heart in this film, which I'm like, horror movie with
really
heart?
did. Like, I'm a crier. I cry at everything. I cry at bad movies.
She does. I can attest to that.
Like, movies I hate still can sometimes get me to cry. This movie, a horror movie, got me to cry 3 times, and I was shocked. I am surprised I cared about these characters
I think I was too busy to cry. Like, there were a couple points where I was like, ooh, ouch, my heart. But, like...
The ending, especially.
Yeah. But no, it was really, really good. But I was worried about the Pennywise. Because I enjoy Pennywise. Like, he's the only clown besides the Joker that I've ever been like, yeah, you're cool. You're murderous and you eat children, but you're cool. So I was
Pennywise, not the Joker.
Yeah, the Joker. As far as I know, the Joker did well.
Well, maybe in one universe he's a cannibal.
Anyway, but so I was like nervous. I really wanted it to be good, and I was worried. But
and the trailers were scary, and the posters were creepy. But
it was so good. Like the performance was good.
Bill
Skarsgård, A+.
Very good.
So good. I love you. Anyway,
he was wonderful. All the kids were amazing.
All the kids were amazing.
We're adopting all of them right
They're
now.
our children
the Losers
now.
Club is our children now. You can't stop us. Just
like everything was really good. The scares were good.
For the most
part, the scares were good. The movie didn't scare me.
And I did this a lot. I looked through my fingers a lot just because
I did this a lot. I was just
just because I didn't want to potentially get triggered by anything.
Yeah.
So I can't speak to some of my triggers if there were any because I was hiding for some parts of it.
Yeah,
But
definitely want to rewatch it, but probably not in theaters. It's really loud. That was my biggest issue.
I jumped the most at really, and not even scary noises, just loud noises.
Loud noises. That's the thing, is the movie really isn't scary. Like, there was a lot of warnings about jump scares, and I'm like, I didn't
They
really...
were there.
They were there, but it's like, they weren't like I don't know, they weren't...
They're not cheap jump scares.
They're not cheap jump scares.
Like, there's a lot
of... It's not one of those things where you expect it and then nothing's there. It's like, no.
There's almost always something
There's
there.
always something
like,
there.
If they're building tension...
There's a reason.
There's a purpose for the tension, and there's a really good build and release of tension throughout the movie.
So it's like, the movie was great, story was great, the acting was great, the editing was phenomenal.
The effects were good, the cinematography was beautiful.
Yeah, it's just, everything was so beautiful. Was there music in this movie?
Yes.
I missed it. I was a little busy, so I cannot attest to the soundtrack or the score.
It blended very seamlessly in my mind. Like
it's kind of one of those... It's almost with, like, War of the Worlds, where you don't quite notice
it's almost part of the sound design
kind
of thing.
Which is kind of cool.
Or, like, Fury Road, where you're just so hyped that it's part of the scene.
Yeah, and it's not constant, like, fear and whatever. There's
lots of good breaks.
There's a couple breaks that are really good.
And they dedicate a lot of time to building up these kids and making them feel real, feel like real friends, real children. Like,
they felt like real children. My only issue with that is some of the language they used. I'm like, how old are you?
It is rated R, and Richie, especially, who's played by, I've not seen Stranger Things, so I don't know the actor's name. But the kid who plays Will from Stranger Things.
And you expect that from Richie anyway, because I swear that kid has Tourette's.
He curses the most, and it's kind of non-stop, but almost... It's not annoying. I don't know why it didn't annoy me, because usually people who curse like that, I'm like... But I think it's because it's a kid. It's funny.
Yeah, and
he's
also,
like 13.
Also, I mean, it's Richie. You expect... I mean, again, the
Plus
whole
everyone
beep,
gets
beep Richie. So, you know.
There were a few parts in this movie that I don't think were supposed to make you laugh, but they made me laugh.
Yeah, like, there was a...
When Pennywise first talked, because I didn't know what his voice sounded like.
Yeah,
this particular
I'm
Pennywise.
wondering now if maybe they, like, lowered his voice or something in the trailers, because
his voice didn't sound like that in the trailers.
No.
Not that I remember.
Not that I remember.
But he talked, he said, "Hiya, Georgie," and I was just like...
Yeah, like, it's almost like your brain's telling you should be afraid, and I'm like, I kind of am, but I'm still laughing.
And then, everyone has probably seen the GIF at this point, but he's trying to scare Beverly. It's towards the end. I'm gonna cry laughing again. And he, like... It's not quite Gangnam Style, but it might as well be.
Yeah, it's
he
close.
Just starts fucking dancing, and it's so funny because he's just perfectly
straight face.
He's just, but he's dancing.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's phenomenal. It's just
so
funny. Like, really,
I can see why Beverly wasn't scared.
Yeah, really, I don't have many complaints with this film. Really, my biggest complaint with this film, besides like the really loud noises for no reason, is the fact that they really, really cut back Mike's story and role, and like I felt really bad because it's like they gave some of what Mike was like his storyline to Ben, and I love the kid who plays Ben. He's adorable little butterball, and I'm just like my son. But those two in particular, Ben and Mike, felt really. It pains me to say this, but they felt really bland. They felt almost. I don't know.
And I don't feel that they were bland, but on Mike's part particularly, he doesn't even join the Losers Club till, like...
The second act.
Yeah. And it's like, dude, in part 2, he's like the only kid that stayed and grew up in Derry. He's the one that's to call everybody and be like, it's back.
Yeah,
so
which
it's like
is
you
kind of
think
a
they
bummer.
would have dedicated more time to him because he was great. The kid playing him was great.
The kid playing him
The parts
was
they
amazing.
had for him were great. Like he had one of the first big like besides Georgie getting killed. Spoiler alert: Georgie dies.
Spoilers.
He got one of the first big scares in the movie, and it was good. It was effective, and his acting was really
Although
good.
I almost I had read something about that scene, about the scene with Mike. So I knew it was coming. So I knew it was coming, and I was just like, that was the first point that I was like, oh god, that hurts. It hurts so bad. Like I was so emotional, I couldn't be scared. But I did not think to tell her. So it started happening, and she's like pressed against my shoulder, and I was like, shit, I didn't warn her about this.
There's certain things that don't necessarily trigger me, but they scare me.
Yeah.
And hands.
I know.
The
and
hand things is one of them. Like I think the only thing I've seen that doesn't scare me with that is The Walking Dead, and that's only because I keep laughing at "Don't Dead Open Inside."
Yeah, and it's just I felt really bad, but
it's okay. It didn't like terrify me. It just I was like, oh, hands. Where I'm glad that I have to wear glasses to see because I can just do this. And then I can see the movie, but I can't see the movie.
Yeah.
So it helped a lot to be able to do that. Or I like did this and just watched like the very bottom of the screen so I could kind of see what was going on. So I could at least not have to lean over to her and be like, what's happening? Relate the movie to me. Detail by detail, because I care if our children are still alive.
Right. But that was my biggest issue because Mike's important. And I'm like, okay, you have one black kid and you're basically erasing him. Mm-hmm. And which sucked. I'm not okay with that because he's really important. Like, really important. So that was my biggest complaint.
Yeah, that was one of the more disappointing things, because I had heard that before we went to the movie, that they really cut Mike's character down, Mike's, involvement. They really cut his involvement down, and I was very sad to hear about that since he's the only black kid, and it's like, wow, really?
Yeah.
Like, you got 5 white kids, but you cut down, and 1 girl, and then you cut down the 1 black kid. It just...
Yeah,
it was good. That was disappointing.
Yeah. So, and like, again, the movie wasn't that scary.
It's not terrifying.
It's not terrifying. What kind of got me was, like, when Georgie, like, he's dead already, mind you. But, like, when Bill sees him, he, like, kind of rots away, and that's
in
gross.
His basement. Just in case you want to know about what point the movie is, Bill hears things in the house, and he's in Georgie's room, and then he, like, sees a figure run away, and he goes down into the basement.
And it's all flooded.
So it's that scene.
So that's that weird, trippy-ass scene from the trailer. It's that scene, in case you want to, like, not look.
Yeah.
So, like, that's kind of creepy, and, like,
the part that scared me the most... And mind you, this scared me more than Pennywise. Pennywise, at the end of the day, he's creepy and he's very effective.
He's the least frightening of all the forms he takes. Mm-hmm. The clown is the least scary thing in this film.
The other forms he takes are scary.
Or gross. They're not scary, they're really gross.
Anyway, the Losers Club, it's near the... It's closer to the beginning of the movie. Like, it's right after they meet Ben and, like... Yeah. Make friends with him. And the bullies are chasing Ben, and the other kids, like, pick him up and they leave. And one of the bullies goes into the sewer tunnel because he thinks he hears them. Well, it's not them.
Of course not.
Spoiler alert. And all these kids, like, there's lots of warning when something scary might start happening because you hear a bunch of kids, like, talking and laughing.
They're the dead kids.
Yeah, they're the dead kids. So he's going down the tunnel saying, like, I can hear you down here, I'm gonna find you, yada yada, and he's using a can of hairspray, I think.
Something like that.
And a lighter, and, like, lighting it on fire so he can see. And he rounds a corner, and there's this whole horde of children, and you just get, like, brief flashes of their faces, really, one in particular. And this is what scared me the most. I was, again, not watching, I had my glasses down like this, but it was still scary. The girl in the front, who I think they say is one of the first girls.
Yeah,
they keep name-dropping this
name.
one girl
Yeah.
that went missing, and they find her shoe in the sewer. But anyway, I think it was her.
Yeah.
She's at the front, and she, like, smiles. Their faces are all messed up, because I mean, they're dead.
They're dead and they're rotting, basically.
Yeah, and she smiles, and I swear to God, she looked a lot like Linda Blair from The Exorcist, which we will not put a picture of here because she's fucking scary. That scared me the most, if only because that is one of my biggest triggers, so I don't know that it would scare anybody else the same way it scared me, but it was very creepy.
Yeah.
Very, very creepy. I didn't like it.
The other thing, too, was, for most people who've read the book or have any inkling of it, Eddie, when he gets his first run-in with Pennywise, Pennywise takes the form of a leper. And it's really... Because
he's scared of the germs
It's really gross.
It is gross.
And I try not to be insensitive, because, of course, leprosy is a thing, and it is devastating. But it was really nasty. Think Walking Dead, but if the zombies could talk.
And run faster.
Yeah, it was...
It was creepy.
It was gross, and that popped up a couple times.
It wasn't as scary in the end. It pops up again at the end of the movie. And
it's not as scary in the end, but it just the initial time it's gross
because it's supposed to gross you out.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately. And there's an animal death warning.
Yeah,
for this movie. It's brief and it's in the beginning. It's
not really graphic, but it's with Mike.
They have a farm.
They have a farm, and I think it's his grandfather, but wants him to bolt a sheep. And it's not graphic. Mike doesn't do it. His grandfather does. But
Mike does it later on in the movie, but
and you don't see anything. It's completely censored. Like, you can't see the sheep at all. But, like, it's really fast, and you kind of see a splurt of blood. But it's really loud. The bolt gun is really loud.
And so they use it several times.
They use it several times. So again, it's like really, the movie wasn't scary. Some of the visuals are kind of like, ooh. But it's not horrific. Like,
I've seen worse movies overall that scared me more.
Yeah.
This is a really well-crafted movie, and I think I was in such awe and so attached and so emotionally invested that I wasn't scared shitless.
No.
There were a couple other times where, like, the sound was just so loud that she thought I was shaking because I was scared, and I'm like, it's just so loud. Like, it was creepy because, like, Pennywise is, like, screaming at them, but it's also, like, it was just so loud.
There's, like, a projector sound going on, all the kids are screaming
and yelling, turn it
He's
off!
screaming and yelling, and it's just like...
It was a lot going on.
An Easter egg that I noted, because I know...
I thought you were going to talk about the actual Easter egg.
Oh, no! Although I have to say...
There's a scene with a literal Easter egg.
There's scenes with literal Easter eggs, and I just have to say, dumb-ass white boy, why are you following the Easter eggs? Anyway.
Also, why do they keep going into the basements? That's what I want to know.
These are dumb white children. I'm sorry, but they are. Because only white people would do this.
Like, at one point, they're about to go into the scary murder house, and it's the black kid and the Jewish kid, and Stanley and Mike are standing at the back going,
nah.
I don't know about this. And I'm like, see, they know what's up.
See, they know what's up.
They know what's up. Beverly's going in because she's not scared, but they're like, hey, we're gonna die.
I know, like, Easter eggs, because I know some people complained, oh, what about the werewolf? You know, because that's a big thing. And because they changed that in this film, where instead of Eddie being afraid of a werewolf, he's afraid of clowns, which I'm like, that makes sense.
I know part of that might be, too, like, because we were reading about this. When they made the 90s miniseries, there was some copyright infringement happening because the teenage werewolf thing was copyrighted by another studio or company or whatever. So they technically weren't allowed to use it, but they kind of tried to sidestep that.
They there is like there's kind of a note to that where at some point you see Pennywise's hand in like this corner of the screen, and like he rips through the glove and it's like a werewolf claw, which is cool.
There's a reference to the spider, too.
Yeah, there's a reference to the spider.
It's really brief, and it's not...
It looks really cool, though.
It does look cool, and it's not, like, he doesn't turn into a giant spider. But no, like, there's this whole room that Richie gets stuck in, and it's full of clowns. And if you're even remotely scared of clowns, it was creepy. Like, I don't like clowns. That scene was creepy.
It was creepy, so I was like, ah! But at one point I looked, because of course I was waiting to tell her when it was over. And... when you're, like, looking straight ahead from Richie's point of view, you see a coffin and a mannequin clown figure that's directly to like, the left side of the screen and slightly in front of it, is a mannequin that has the OG Pennywise outfit on it.
Yeah, like the bright yellow one.
Like, the big hair and the bright yellow. It was cool. I was just like, Tim Curry costume. It was cool.
And there's also nods to the greater Stephen King universe, which other people had pointed out, so we were able to catch them.
Turtle.
Yeah, to the turtle, which is Pennywise's arch nemesis, I think.
The yang. Yeah, basically to his yin. Something like that. Basically God.
I guess, jack shit about the Stephen King
universe. I guess the Stephen King universe, the turtle created everything, like created our universe.
I think it's mentioned in the Dark Tower series, maybe?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. We didn't see the Dark Tower either.